And now Blue Tiger, the only fireworks company with the space-age know-how to put your child on the moon, brings you another episode of The Gathering Dusk, the heartwarming story of a girl who never knows when to quit because she never knew when to get started. As we look in on the Bessinger household today, Edna is lounging on a chaise lounge in the downstairs lounge. It's mid-afternoon, and Dr. Gladlow, the county coroner's deputy in Red Boiling Springs, is just arriving.
Oh, it's you, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. It was good of you to come over so quickly. When I called, I wasn't sure you'd remember me at all. It's been so many years since I've seen you.
Well, when you're a coroner, a lot of the people you deal with never see you at all. That's just a little joke one of the boys at the morgue came up with the other day.
Well, it must be nice to work in a place where everybody clowns around a lot. When I was pursuing my career, it was just all business.
Well, I didn't realize you ever had a career, Miss Bessinger. You've just been in here with the shades pulled for as long as I can remember.
Well, this was some years back.
Oh.
You were probably still freezing stiffs over at the county seat then. But I was once quite a well-known librarian here in the village.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware that your health had ever permitted you to work outside the home.
Yes, I filled in for Grandma Wanderman for almost a week at the checkout desk in 1937. I'd planned to keep the job during her whole vacation, but I just couldn't stand the pace.
Well, I think most librarians eventually reach the point where they can stamp the date on books without letting it tire them out too much.
Well, that was only part of the problem. It seemed as though the children were always squabbling over the same book they wanted. Sometimes I think I might have been able to take it if the library had just bought a second copy of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, I suppose we all think back to little things like that and dream of what might have been. But was that the only thing you called me over here to discuss, Miss Bessinger?
No, not by a long shot, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. I've just been sitting here in stark terror all day because there's a human hand sticking out of one of the bureau drawers over in the corner. It must be the body of a very small person stuffed inside there. But I presume your department handles dead midgets with no questions asked.
Well, we ask questions regardless of the size of the person, Miss Bessinger. But you don't need to be concerned because that's not a human hand sticking out of that drawer. It's just one of those novelty Chinese back scratchers that's made in the shape of a hand.
Oh, upon my word, I do believe you're right, Deputy County Coroner Gladlow. I remember now that I was rooting around in the drawer this morning, hunting for the cat's front booties before I put him out. I guess part of the back scratcher was left caught in the drawer when I closed it again. I swear you can't know what a load this takes off my mind. I almost feel as if I'm no longer standing in the gathering dusk.
Can it be that Edna's freedom from fear of a dead midget in her bureau drawer may at last pave the way to future happiness? Or will there only be further heartbreak when she realizes that if the midget isn't in the drawer, that he must be somewhere else? Be sure to join us next time for the next exciting episode when Edna goes to the village in the gathering dusk.
Wally Ballou is standing by at the Bob and Ray Trophy Train.
Harold, Long Island, where I'm standing by at the Bob and Ray Trophy Train on the hottest day since 1964. You may be able to hear the fan in the background. We don't have air conditioning, do we, Mr. Gilmore?
No, we don't.
This is the manager of the train who's been responsible for its trip across the country. And it's
Stifling in here, too. I'm afraid some of the trophies will be affected by this intense humid heat.
Some of those early plastic items might actually melt.
And those old 4th and 5th grade class pictures of Bob and Ray's certainly can't take this heat. They're beginning to buckle.
They're curling up there, I can see
Yes.
it. Outside, there seems to be a few people here, though. A group from, I believe, a junior high school came through moments ago.
Yes, we had a group here from Fort Washington come through here, and they're enjoying it very much. Although most of the kids are saying, who are Bob and Ray? They don't seem to be familiar with them.
Well, you explained in your lecture, don't you?
Well, they have a 40-minute lecture and a slide presentation before they go on to the
They really know who Bob and Ray are when they get off.
Oh,
right?
You bet, and they truly appreciate what they've done.
Well, they certainly have done a lot. They're legends in their own time, I like to say.
That's what I understand, right. Help yourself to one of those Maryland crab cakes.
Not today. Now, this is Wally Ballou from the Trophy Train in Harold, Long Island. Back to the studio. Welcome now to another episode of Wing Po, the true-to-life story of a Chinese philosopher who wanders across the American frontier in search of work. As our action-packed drama begins today, Wing Po has just entered the small rundown saloon at Bitter Creek and is approaching the bar.
Howdy there, young fella. What'll it be?
It will be as it has always been, for life is much like the rolling wheel of the ox cart. If we are to know how the spokes shall move on the next turn, we need only remember what they have done before.
You're from out of town, ain't you?
The thought you express reflects knowledge. I have traveled far in the hope that I may see from below the same tree limbs which the soaring hawk can only see from above.
Do you want to give me a drink order now, or do you think maybe you've already had too much?
I do not seek the goods you sell, for the drink that deadens the mind must also blur the inward vision of the spirit. And he who sees only outward is much like snowflake, which can fall no other way except down.
Look, fella, I don't want to seem unfriendly, but why are you taking up space at my bar if you ain't planning to be a customer?
I intend to be no more burden upon you than Meadowlark, who rides the buffalo. I'm here in search of honest work.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so? I take on drifters here from time to time. What can you do? 10 bar, deal faro, or what?
I can offer the philosophy that opens the gate to age-old wisdom.
Yeah, well, everybody who comes in here thinks he can do that. All I need is somebody to wash beer glasses for 50 cents a day in meals.
Your generosity overwhelms. But the rainbow of color left by nature upon the dirty glass is not a thing to be washed away. It must be held to the light and carefully perceived.
Well, look, if you're fixing to perceive every glass before you wash it, I couldn't go any higher than 2 bits a day.
So it shall be. And I will also play my flute for your dancing girls to shuffle their feet to.
Clifford, why are you standing here talking to the only customer in the place when there's booze to be toted up from the cellar?
Please, do not place blame upon his shoulder. The fault for speaking too long is mine. But I find it difficult to dispense only a little wisdom.
Clifford, who's this clown in the kimono staring through that empty beer glass?
I am Wing Po.
He's a philosopher I hired to wash the glassware, Nettie, but right now he's just perceiving that empty one first.
It is true, for life...
Doing what with it?
It's sometimes a hard thing to explain.
No, it ain't. He's perceiving the beer glass, Nettie. He says nature puts all kinds of rainbows and things inside dirty beer glasses. So he's got to perceive each one before he washes it.
He speaks the truth. See how the yellows and golds catch the glimmerings of light. For one who seeks to know the ingredients of the sunrise, look no further.
Well, we've had a lot of loonies around this place, but you're the first one who thought the sunrise was made out of stale beer. Now, are you going to pick up your flute and leave? Or shall I part your hair with this crowbar?
Let there be no violence. I shall go, for destiny has so ordered it. Bye-bye. And so our hero moves on to his next exciting adventure. Be sure to join us soon for more action-packed drama in the thrilling life of Wing Po.
It's time to gain more valuable tips for you home handymen as we pay another of our regular visits to the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer. Fred, it seems kind of hard to walk in here today. And all these iron pipes strung out across the floor, something new?
Yes, they are, Ray. I bought these pipes very inexpensively and then hooked them all together with simple tools. Next winter, I'll circulate hot water through the whole system, and it'll heat the workshop without wasting valuable fuel oil.
Well, that sounds like a great money-saving do-it-yourself project, Fred, and I'm sure that a lot of home handymen in our widespread audience will want to try the same thing. So would you tell them where you plan to put your feet next winter when the pipes get too hot to stand on the floor?
Well, that's no problem at all, Ray. Good stout asbestos boots offer plenty of insulation, and they're readily available at any shoe store that caters to firemen.
So there you have it, dear listeners, just one more example of better living by doing it yourself. And Fred, I know our home handymen are all anxious to hear about the project that you've chosen to demonstrate this week.
Yes, this week, Ray, I've picked a do-it-yourself project to demonstrate that it's a real money saver. Most of us spend a good part of our income buying complete new light bulbs, correct?
That's right.
And of course, that's foolish because a burned-out bulb can be made good as new just by replacing one little filament inside.
Well, you always make these things sound easy, Fred, but I thought it was virtually impossible to repair a light bulb, once it had burned out.
No, not at all. I'm afraid you're just not very handy with simple tools, are you?
No, I'm pretty much all thumbs. That's why I enjoy watching you do this marvelous work here in the shop. So please go ahead and demonstrate how to fix light bulbs.
Well, there's really nothing to it. Here's a bulb that I've already taken apart with the aid of an ordinary number 5 hacksaw.
You just cut the glass globe away from the metal base there,
That's right. And as I indicated, those parts can be used again. It's only the filament that needs replacing. I'm making a new one here by bending very thin tungsten wire into a coil.
Gee, that's tiny. It must be terribly hard to work on.
Well, it can hardly be seen with the naked eye at all, Ray, but if you keep the wire steady by clamping it in a number 8 vise like this, then one hand is free to hold a magnifying glass while the other hand operates the tweezers.
And those are just ordinary household tweezers you're using to bend the wires, is that it?
Well, they're the ones my wife uses on her eyebrows. I'd say they're number 9 tweezers, maybe number 10. But no smaller than that.
Right.
Now, you just keep twisting the wire until you've made about 40 to 50 very small loops in it.
Gee, 50 loops in a filament that can't be more than, how long, Fred, a quarter of an inch?
Well, these filaments have to be approximately 6.4 millimeters long. It's about a quarter of an inch, right? Then you just wrap the ends of the wire around these 2 posts, and you're done.
Well, of course, you've still got the glass part of the bulb detached from the metal base, Fred. Don't you have to do something about that?
Well, you can fuse the 2 parts back together if you have the right type of glass-blowing equipment. Of course, the inside of the bulb has to be a complete vacuum, and the equipment to draw the air out of there is very expensive, so I have that fusing and vacuuming work done for me at a light bulb factory.
Well, I didn't know they'd take special orders to do repair work like this.
Well, the big mass production factories won't, but there are still a few craftsmen around who make light bulbs by hand. I send mine to an old gentleman in North Carolina, and he does a fine job of fusing the globe back onto the base for about $25.
I see, and then, of course, you can look forward to many more months of dependable service from a bulb that most people would have thrown away. Well, once again, we've seen an example of how to live better by doing it yourself. Direct from the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer. And now the Kraft-Weiler Industrial Cartel, producers of all sorts of stuff, made out of everything, invite you to widen your horizons.
Yes, friends, it's time again for the award-winning public service program, Widen Your Horizons, a program that teaches you how to lead a fuller and happier life by acquiring new skills. Our subject for today is one of general interest, I think, how to replace a burned-out light bulb, and to lead the discussion, a real expert on the subject, Mr. Chester Wadsworth of the Blue Lightning Electric Company. I think I'm correct, Mr. Wadsworth, in saying that your firm is the nation's largest producer of light bulbs?
Well, we produce more 55-watt bulbs than any other company. You see, most of our competitors make 50s, 60s, but we have the only 55 on the market today.
So, of course, you lead in that division, eh?
Well, we lead in production. Now, as to whether we sell any of them or not, I just couldn't say. You have to check with the sales department.
Well, that's really not too important.
You mean it's not too important to you? We're not important to the sales department,
Well, I meant it's not too important to our discussion here. What we're primarily interested in is how to replace burned-out bulbs. And you were telling me before we went on the air that only about 20% of the people in this country know how to replace a light bulb when it burns out. I
That's
find
right.
that hard to believe.
Well, you see, most of the lamps you buy today already have bulbs in them. The average person believes that when the bulb burns out, you have to throw the lamp away.
Well, it'd be a terrible waste if people did that.
Well, of course, the lamp manufacturers encourage this public ignorance, and it's up to us in the bulb game to educate the public.
Well, I see that you brought a lamp along with you today, and it's plugged in, but it isn't lighted. Now, does that mean that there's a burned-out bulb in it?
Yes, that indicates that the lamp has a burned-out bulb, yes.
Well, then suppose you go right ahead and demonstrate how a person would go about replacing it, will you?
Well, it's almost self-evident, but before you can put in a new bulb...
You have to get rid of the old one.
That's right. Now, this is the step that hinders many people because they think that it has to be pulled straight out by brute force. Actually, it screws out quite easily.
Well, you do make it look quite easy, Mr. Wadsworth. I suppose even a child could do it.
Well, that would depend a lot on the dexterity of the child, of course, but any normal adult can do it. Now, you'll notice that I have the old bulb out here, and I merely take the new bulb.
What's the matter, Miss
Oh, I
Wadsworth?
got my finger on the socket. The current must be on. I can't move.
Well, maybe your feet are wet. They say that can make a person turn purple when he sticks his finger in a light socket. You think you'll be able to get on with the demonstration?
I can't move. I'm stuck here.
Oh, well, that's all right. We're running a little short of time anyway, so I'll just say that you've been listening to Widen Your Horizons, and our guest speaker today was Mr. Chester Wadsworth. Copies of his remarks may be obtained from your local agent of the Croftweiler Industrial Cartel.
Come in, please, in Harold. Wally Ballou.
Wally Ballou here in Harold, and it's a little bit quieter today than it has been the past week or so that we've been here. I don't think we've worn out our welcome. There was a good crowd of people over the weekend. Mr. Gilmore,
Yes, sir.
how do you size up the situation this afternoon?
Well, we've had a lot of 10th, 11th grade students come by because they didn't have to take their Regents exams because of the big scandal, you know.
Oh, yes, yes.
So rather than go to school to take their Regents test, they've availed themselves of the opportunity to come here and to go through the Bob and Ray Trophy train.
Well, that's
so I don't
good.
know whether it's a mixed blessing for them or what. I don't know.
Well,
I have no opinion on it.
They seem to want to come here and see the Bob and Ray memorabilia.
Uh-huh. I just know when I was a kid, if I didn't have to take a test, I figured that was good luck somehow.
Right.
And, well...
Here comes somebody.
Yes,
They just been on the train, and they just stepped off.
And so, well, we're going to leave Harold now and head up towards New England.
Oh, you're taking it out of town, huh?
Yeah, we've just about, I think, saturated the market here.
Well, that's it, Wally. Thanks for that report. Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. It's later the same day now, and in the town hall at Meredith, New Hampshire, Harry, Pop, and Calvin stand discussing the fact that Mary definitely must have disappeared. And we hear Calvin say,
But you know, I have a funny feeling. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. But the lady who was driving that cab bore a striking resemblance to Mary.
well, as I said, Calvin, I didn't get a good look at her, but I heard her voice, and how could Mary be driving a cab anyway? She doesn't even have a license.
Does she have any relatives up this way that you know of?
No,
They
not-
look alike, you know.
Yes, that's possible, but didn't she say something about not knowing where she was from?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said that all right.
Well, that would just be more fuel for the fire that would make us think that it was Mary, you know?
Do you think she's trying to hide her identity or something?
Could
If it is her?
Could it be, now let's try to analyze this thing
Right.
intelligently.
Right.
Could it be possible that the spooks down at the theater scared her so that she's beside herself with anxiety and, took to driving a taxi cab?
Oh,
Does that
I
make
don't-
any sense to you, or
I
am I
don't-
whistling Dixie?
I don't sense the logic in that, Calvin.
Uh-huh.
Of all things to do, I can't see Mary going out and getting a job with a taxi cab company.
Uh-huh. No, I suppose.
And those aren't spooks anyway. We discovered they're just some of the town hoodlums.
But she didn't know that at the time of her disappearance.
That's right. She disappeared before we figured out what the noises were. Yes, that's true.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me think logically. What would I have done
if you were Mary?
If I'd been in her position, yes.
Uh-huh.
I would have stayed on stage and finished the rehearsal, I guess.
Well, let me think what I would have done had I been in her position. I probably would have gone to a movie or something like that. And we tried to go to the movies and see if she's sitting there watching the movie.
Well, that's a thought. We could, I suppose.
What would you do, Pop, if you were in her situation?
Well, first I would have gotten a shoe shine.
Why that?
And then a haircut, because I need both.
Oh.
These dusty streets around town ruin a shine. Then I would have looked for Mary, I guess.
Don't you have a funny feeling, though, here in Meredith, that the people are staying off the streets as though they think we're bringing a plague to this town?
Well,
I mean, you don't see a postman, you don't see anybody going in and out of the drugstore or even to the filling station.
That's right.
You don't see anybody coming up to the doctor's office or going over to the town hall.
Oh, wait a minute. There's the cab again. Cab, Bill. Is it the same person driving?
Looks like Mary.
Sure does.
Hop in. Where to?
Ma'am, excuse me.
Would you turn around, ma'am?
Sure.
Why?
Mary.
Mary.
Do you recognize us?
It is Mary. Sure is. I know her face anywhere. Mary, don't you recognize us? Harry, your husband, beloved idol of a million other women. Calvin Hoogerman, your next-door neighbor, and me, Pop, beloved stage doorman.
Well, I've had all kinds of approaches made to me. This is the wildest one ever. Where do you want to go? Should I drive you down to the police station?
And so Harry, Pop, and Calvin ascertain that the driver of the taxi cab in Meredith is in reality Mary. But she doesn't seem to recognize them. You ought to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Mary say,
No, I don't know you at all.
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Close in 5 minutes.